One thing that was impressive was they actually understood the product, what is getting built out. I faced troubles when explaining it to the customers, and I know it's a tough piece to solve. The other agencies that we have worked with, they didn't even dive into understanding what's happening over here. I'm Varun, I'm the CEO and founder of Nimble Edge, and we are working primarily to deploy edge computing stack. So a deep tech startup building out tools for the world. B2B market, we talk to large B2C players, get them integrated with our solution and deploy it on the edge. And a lot of customers started coming in. So that's when we decided we need a more professional looking, much better website that conveys the idea on what we are building out. It's a fairly technical product, so it requires a lot of explanation on what needs to be conveyed to the customer across different stakeholders, from the business teams to the technical teams. It needs a complete thought process of how to build content before even going through the design process. I tried out a couple of agencies, couple of teams. It just wasn't good enough. Some teams had reliability issues. Some had, not that of a proactive responses to how the website as a project should be taken up. And that's when we started looking out for a lot of other good agencies. Came out to ED. From the portfolio that you shared, the websites look pretty great. So we thought, okay, let's just work with them and see. I would say primarily the thing that got us excited was that the ED team was proactive in terms of thinking how the website should come up. We had a previous version that was built out to some extent, and we wanted that whatever is there, you take it up and then come up with the independent thought process that you have. At the end, we dumped what was built previously and we redesigned everything from scratch. But I think that proactiveness to think from scratch, from the first principles on how to come out with an approach for the website, having two different visual routes coming up in the beginning and choosing one within the time bound escalations that we had to figure out. I think those were the interesting parts. That's the reason we continued with ED. The first impression that we got, the team pretty much held up to it. It was redesigning, it was any kinds of incorporating the changes. ED was pretty fast to do it, and especially accommodating special requests. There were lots of changes happening within the company, certain requirements getting added, certain requirements getting removed, which I would expect any project to delay the timelines. But ED team was extremely cooperative in that direction. They are always willing to go out of the bounds to actually build what we need and understand what we need. And for all the challenges that they do come across during the project, I think their team is pretty proactive over here to position those changes upfront and resolve those solutions within the time frames. That's good. I think the primary difference and the biggest difference for me was, at one side, we were the information givers and we were defining what to add, where to add, what color to choose, how to choose, and what kind of structure do we need. Those were the kinds of things we didn't have to dive deeper with the ED team. They came up with the structure. It made thought process easier for us on what needs to be given from our side for the content or for the design. Right? If everything is upon us, first of all, it takes a lot more time because we are more resource crunched over here. And sometimes we might not know what's the best possible way to show it, what's the best possible navigation to show it. Those are really the things that we would expect that the team from the other side helps us out with. And ED was pretty good on that. So they came up with the structure, they came up with first set of content, they came up with suggestions on what to add, what not to add. So it became easier over there. Overall impression is good, much better than the previous one that we had. Now it's more targeted to what we actually do. The content is more organized, more focused on what we actually want to show it to the users. The content is way more focused now. So it actually shows what we want to deliver to the customers. At some places, I would say that we have over-communicated it, but I think that's more of the usual A/B testing process of the website. You add a lot more content and then the switch on, switch off based on the responses that you get from the people. Our team has been setting up discussions pretty regularly, and editing was very proactive again over there. I think there was some time zone difference issues. So half of our marketing team is in US. So I think we only get 2-3 hours of interval at night to actually get it done. But yeah, I've seen ED team working, pushing out updates on the website till 4 a.m. in the morning. Even the US team was not expecting it to happen. But yeah, I think that's the good part. In terms of recommendations and referrals, right, I would be more than happy to do that and would love to share the work and the experience that we had, especially in terms of how you guys think through. I think we definitely got the context on what we want, right? As in what hyper-personalization means. One thing that was impressive was they actually understood the product on what is getting built out. I face troubles when explaining it to the customer so that they can understand it. And I know it's a tough piece to solve. The other agencies that we have worked with, they didn't even dive into understanding what's happening over here. So the team really did well over there. I think the kinds of changes, especially in the content that we were doing, was more to position the content in a way that's industry standard in terms of language. So once we know what hyper-personalization is, how do we define it in a way that the customers can understand and relate to their other efforts that they are putting out? We were really cost conscious from the beginning. So the first time when we discussed with TD, the cost just blew us up. So we thought, okay, let's try something cheaper alternative that is available. I guess that backfired like anything because guys could not even build a coherent website. A personal learning point for us was that website development and designing is one part, but making the website coherent, right, requires a lot of understanding on the content side of the things. If the agency who's working on this is not able to understand this, how the flow should happen, how everything should happen, then it becomes a fragmented piece. Every page is talking about something which is independent of the others. You don't get a meaningful customer journey in that. Major, if you remember the next time when we were conversing, the primary point I was diving deeper into was how do you understand the context flow? How do you understand the navigations across things? So we thought, okay, let's give it a shot, even though it's 5 times costlier than what we were doing on the other side. We really thought that this is what we were needing. Design-wise, at least we can iterate over the time. We can try new stuff and see what's there. But if the first piece of what should be the first content that I need to show, what should be the second one, if that doesn't even happen, then the entire exercise goes to waste, just like it happened in the last one. And I thought that, okay, maybe this is the thought process that is costly at TD. So let's give it a shot. I think we worked well on making everything coherent. So on the context flows, I would say now we are in the phase of over communicating. So that is still easier to do at come to the level. Before, what to even communicate was missing. One of the concerns was in this on the context flow itself, but I had a lesser risk over there because that's the thing that you were sharing at the top of your mind. Second one was, especially will we be able to finish up the entire project within the expectations. Third concern for me was if the design itself comes out as, which is not very, what should I say, enterprise looking professional kind of thing. We work primarily with very large customers, and if it looks like something that more B2C website would be looking, it would really not go well with the direction. So I think on that end, the website's design elements are pretty clean, especially with the first agency that we worked with. The experience was that they were not able to understand what we want to do. It took us 3.5 weeks just to convey on what kind of content should come out on the page. So more in terms of timelines, my concern was if the team is not able to understand what is being built over here, it will just not be possible to finish up the website. So high moment was when the homepage was completed. Now there's actually a website that is going out. My concerns around if the website would be finished or not was actually elevated because homepage is the toughest part. Rest, everything was much easier. I remember we had long 4 hours, 6 hours conversation between me, Andrea and others, just iterating on the content to fix up what's the amount that should go over there. So when the homepage came out, it actually paid off those efforts. At the end of last 2 to 3 days, that's when all the rest of the pages were getting completed. We didn't have enough time, nor the editing, nor us to ramp up on what's happening over there. And then again, it was a point of concern on how are those gonna look like. But those pages actually came out much better. The experience with ED was pretty great. The team is strong. Then they can understand even the most technical aspects. That was one of the biggest problems that we had in general. And convey it in terms of their design process and convey it in terms of how to think about a website that should come out for a deep tech company like us. Another part that I was pretty impressed with the process was ED never restricted with one design flow or one visual route. They propose multiple solutions and choose which is the best one. It's much easier to do that rather than thinking across illustrations and ideas and concepts on our own. That really fast-tracked the process on what we wanted out from the website and the entire engagement together. Lastly, I would say they're very helpful. Things will go wrong across the project, but ED is more than happy to accommodate those changes and actually take things forward. What I personally feel is website is never a one-shot job. You take it up, you iterate. The faster you can iterate on the website, the faster you'll come up to the ideal version that you're looking out for. Even after the website is being rolled out and we have worked together, ED is more than happy to iterate with the later on customer conversations that we are working with, new feedbacks that we come up, new incorporation, new changes that we want to incorporate. I think that's really important for us.